Hello everybody, welcome to the Red Devil Experience. My name is Eric. Hope everybody is doing well. We have the latest Manchester United updates surrounding Andre ONANA, Francisco Trincão, Tyler Dibling, along with some other stuff, including Kobe Mainu, Harry Maguire. So we got a lot of transfer stuff coming out today. It's been a little bit hit or miss. It tends to be a little bit slow sometimes during these international breaks. I think as dismal as our season has probably been so far, I think we're all looking forward to getting back to club football and over the international stuff, which will be coming soon in the next week. So before we get into all the breaking news that came out today and we get into our nice deep discussions as we usually do, please smash the like button if you want to help us out. It pushes us out there, so we greatly appreciate if you want to contribute to the channel in that way. Just smash the like button, and if you enjoy the content and you enjoy our community members and you want to be part of the community, then make sure you hit the notification bell icon. We go live weekly on a daily basis. We also do Red Devil recaps when there are Manchester United matches, which we recap the match. But yeah, let's get straight into the first topic, and I think this one's probably the biggest one. It's been a discussion probably going on for a little bit now in considering this season especially. And we're gonna start off with Andre ONANA. There has been reports coming out that Manchester United have made signing a new goalkeeper a must. Andre ONANA leaving the club is becoming more possible, and United are looking at goalkeepers. This has come from the all credible Muppeteers. Shout out to the Muppeteers. They do very good work. This discussion about Andre ONANA, obviously, when he first came in, there was a lot of hype. A lot of people believing that this was the new way for Manchester United. We needed a ball-playing goalkeeper. Fast forward 2 years in to his time at Manchester United, and it certainly feels like this script has flipped a lot on him. I kind of read the room as there's more United fans that want him gone, that want him sold, than want him to stay here. Many people, saying that that he needs to go, that he hasn't been good. So I think his time at United has been very inconsistent. Many people saying that we shouldn't have sold De Gea. It was a mistake. And there's nothing really to argue back on that. Listen, he's very good with his feet. He's a very good goalkeeper with his feet. But at the end of the day, your goalkeeper needs to be able to save shots. And it's an area that he lacks very much. He's very inconsistent in that department. Sometimes, we've seen a couple matches where he has absolutely just insane matches where he makes outstanding saves and, he's fantastic. And then you go into the match or two later and he is just awful. Letting in goals that are unacceptable at a U14 level. But we have a couple more updates regarding that, and this followed up by Caught Offside, saying that Ruben Amorim has been unimpressed with the performances of Andre ONANA this season. Royal Antwerp's Sene Lamens is attracting the attention of the giant clubs of Europe and the Premier League with his performance this season. Now, I'm not gonna lie, not that I ever lie, but I'm not gonna start here. I have no clue who this guy is. Never heard of him up until today. From this story, have no clue how he's been performing in Europe. I don't know his age. I don't know nothing about him. But I added it in because it just goes with the story that apparently United are looking at goalkeepers. They're looking to sell Andre ONANA. And, apparently Ruben Amorim, and I would say fairly, along with probably the majority of our fan base, have been unimpressed with Andre ONANA's performances. Although the fans would probably say not just this season, last season as well. I think we all remember, you know, his Champions League performances. He received basically the brunt of the blame. You know, with fans going as far to say he single-handedly cost us the Champions League last season. Now, if you want to, you know, put all of that blame on him, that's up to you. But that was the premise of, you know, the United fan base at that time. So, but before we carry on, just shout out to the chat real quick. Richard's in here, Lyons is in here, Lyle is in here as well. How you guys all doing? United Central is in here. United Central saying, get Costa in for me. Well, we'll get to that. Richard says, go on, Eric, just lie. Pretend you're Donald Trump. No politics, no politics. Lion says, unfortunately, I think Vitek will be sold. Well, but maybe, because he keeps getting loaned out. He doesn't seem like he's going to get a chance. But the goalkeeping department is a little bit of a mess right now. I think if we think of it in terms of, like, we're not happy with ONANA. Bayender is one where he got a couple opportunities before he got injured, and he played very well. I mean, he had a mar in the Spurs match, but after that, he did very well. You know, he did well in the game versus Arsenal. He had big saves. His issue is that he cannot kick the ball to save his family. His kicking is absolutely atrocious. Which is a big problem for, you know, somebody that you want to be kind of a sweeper keeper, you know, especially with the goalkeepers today. Again, you need a nice mix. You need a goalkeeper that obviously their number one job is to make saves. They need to be a good shot stopper, but they also need to be able to use their feet. They also need to be able to be kind of that extra man back there playing with their feet, and he doesn't really have it. Every time he kicks the ball, it goes to the other opponent. So I don't know what you do with him. I like him in the fact that I think that he does present attributes to being a very good shot stopper, but he's not a complete package. You know, Ederson is one, Allison is one, Raya has been one for Arsenal as of you know, late, maybe not in the beginning, but he's become very good for them. Emi Martinez is one, and I just don't feel like we really have that at the club now. You know, maybe somebody would argue Vitek, but Vitek's not getting any chances. Doesn't seem like he's going to break through. The general story that's been coming out around Manchester United is that we're not happy with ONANA. We're not necessarily happy with Bayender. Anybody else below them isn't being considered serious, and that Manchester United have been looking for goalkeepers. The talk before this was that United were looking to bring in a goalkeeper to rival ONANA and take his starting spot. So that means that we're not 100% happy with Bayender, and they don't think that Bayender is the guy to push ONANA for the spot. So United have already been kind of looking at goalkeepers, whether it's going to be a straightaway number one or it's going to be somebody to come in and, you know, potentially take ONANA's spot, and relegate ONANA as the number two. That has certainly been the talk around there. But there was a couple more updates, so I just want to get to it about ONANA. One of the updates came from Graham Bailey saying that the Saudi Pro League have shown an interest in Manchester United goalkeeper Andre ONANA. The Cameroon star would be open to moving to the Middle East this summer. So there's a potential out for Andre ONANA as of right now. Early days. Anything can happen. But for Andre ONANA, I see it a little bit different than Casemiro. Casemiro's been trying to be linked to Saudi Arabia, but there hasn't been anything really concrete in that. And the Saudi clubs have kind of moved away. I know they started with buying these kind of older, I guess you would say more finished players for these large fees and large wages, but they've certainly shifted their focus to getting more players more in their prime or younger players. I mean, the example of John Duran is one. He's very, very, very young, very early in his age. They came in, they bought him for 80 million, and they've paid him a big wage. ONANA is one where he's not too old. He's not certainly Casemiro, and he's not on 350,000 a week. So this one may be a little bit more plausible in my opinion, because he's not of retirement age. He's still in a good prime. And maybe it's somebody that they would like to bring to the league. And maybe Onana would be willing to go there for, plays first team football, but also gets a nice payday. So we got to see what's up with that. And the last one just surrounding Onana is that, again, coming from the Muppeteers to close it out, saying signing a goalkeeper is a priority for the club. It is not guaranteed that Onana will leave, but it is possible it could happen. It is not estimated to spend more than 40 million for that position, which is why I waited for this coming back to United Central's original comment saying that get Costa in for me. Well, if this is the truth, and this is as accurate as we've got, and this is all we've got to run off of as of right now, I don't think we're gonna get Costa, because I don't think we'll be able to get Costa for 40 million or less. I think Porto are gonna demand a pretty good fee, probably in the range of 60 million or so. And listen, I wanted Costa before we got Onana. He was my number one choice. But since that time, watching him play, he's become a little bit more iffy for me. He does make quite a numerous amounts of mistakes. And I'm not as sold on him as I was once. Not to say that I wouldn't necessarily welcome him in or take him, but I kind of just think twice about him being the for sure number one goalkeeper. Although I do think that he's better than Onana. In shot saving. He's had some Mars. He's had a couple ones in for Portugal, and I've seen him have a couple for Porto as well, because I've watched Porto here and there. And every once in a while he does have some bad mistakes as a goalkeeper. So yeah, I don't know, but what are you guys saying? Richard's saying Vitek can do the job for us. We don't need Onana. Lion says, I wouldn't mind if Onana got sold, including Beinder. I would love Jean Garcia as a replacement and let Harrison and me battle it out for the number 2 spot. United Central saying, Onana and Beinder need to be sold, no doubt, to me, or our younger keepers need more experience going out on loan first before being number 2. Well, I think that's certainly the general vibe right now. I think the keepers that we have, Vitek, and whoever else, I think the general vibe coming out from the club, regardless of what you guys or me think of them personally, if we think, they're good enough or they're ready enough, the general vibe from inside of the club is that they're either not ready or they're not good enough. So, our younger keepers probably definitely need more experience, just like any other player, and we should be putting them out alone, because if we could develop a goalkeeper, that would be great. I don't know the answer to this, but when was the last time United actually developed a keeper that ended up being the first team goalkeeper? Because I can't think of one. I literally can't think of one. So I don't know. That's something that I feel like that we don't really do or haven't really done for quite a long time. So I don't know. The chances are stacked against us, but then you could argue that, well, it's bound to happen at some point. It could only carry on and continue for so long that it has to flip the other way at some point. So maybe that time is coming up. But I don't know. If somebody knows the answer to that, let us know. United Central saying Beinder has done well in moments, but overall he's still no better than Onana in my eyes. Yeah, I think I've been saying this for quite some time. I think if we took Andre Onana and little Dragon Ball Z reference here, and we fusioned them, Onana and Beinder, we would have the goalkeeper that we all want and that we need. because I think if you mixed Beender's shot stopping with Onana's footwork, um, I think we would have a very good goalkeeper. The one thing in that area was I'm still not 100% convinced by Onana's sweeping in terms of, coming to collect the ball on corners or crosses and stuff like that. I don't think he's that good at that. Sometimes he hesitates. Sometimes he's not strong enough, or he's not brave enough. And then Biender, I think, is kind of very similar in that aspect. So, it's a little bit of a mix. But I kind of view it as Biender has good shot stopping. Onana has good footwork. When the ball goes to Onana's feet, I never worry. Like, there's a couple times where he gets the ball, the opposing player is very close to him, but I never worry. I never worry he's gonna lose it. I never worry he's gonna, make a bad kick off of it. He's usually very good with his feet, and he can at least kick the ball, clear it out, or do a little bit of a skill move. But, yeah, Lyle says, I think Binder was solid. I like the way he plays. His guts out, but his distribution, his distribution is very bad. Backup goalkeeper needed. And here's the thing, like, we're essentially saying we have two goalkeepers that we can't really rely on as number ones. So, a lot of people have been talking about we need the striker. We need, maybe a right wing back or another left wing back, a central midfielder, a winger. But I think we've kind of been overlooking, and maybe because people feel like the problems in the field are a lot larger than in net. But when you break it down, we have two goalkeepers that we're not really confident in, and we're not ready to rely on them 100%, which is an issue. So I think United are probably definitely looking in the goalkeeper department to see what they can do. Whether they bring in another number 2 to rival Onana, maybe that guy takes over, or they can find somebody that they're like, what, this guy's going to be our number 1 going forward, and maybe Onana is sold, and maybe they're both sold. Maybe Binder's sold and Onana gets relegated to number 2. It is interesting. United Central says, first and foremost, it's about stopping shots, which I agree. They've made goalkeeping too complicated. He's not an outfield player, so this needs to play with their feet. Well, is annoying to me. I agree. I mean, at the end of the day, regardless of, what football has transformed that position into, I still think at the end of the day, the goalkeeper has to be top at stopping shots. When I look at Pep and what he kind of asked for, like, he had Joe Hart and was like, no, and moved on from that. And I look at Ederson, and I'm just like, if Ederson sucked at stopping shots, I don't think Pep would have him. As important as Pep deemed, because to me, he's the one that started this whole thing with, in the Premier League, the goalkeepers, everybody's got to play out of the back. The goalkeepers need to play with their feet. It started with him. And I look at it and I'm like, but he's good at shot stopping, but he's also good at his feet. He's also good at sweeping. So, like, that sacrifice, I don't think you can make that sacrifice. You can't have a goalkeeper that you're like, yeah, he's all right at shot stopping. He's not the best, but he's good at his feet. Because at the end of the day, the goalkeepers need to stop the shots. Stopping goals is what helps you win games, not necessarily being able to kick the ball with your feet. But then you also can't be as bad as Biender, because Biender is awful. And that's, he's lucky in the games that he played, because he had some very bad kicks. He's lucky that one of those kicks didn't result in us getting scored on, because it put the team in a bad situation on the pitch. So we need the balance. So I do think we probably need a new goalkeeper. And again, we find ourselves in a position where we had a goalkeeper. We moved on from 2 seasons ago. We're 2 seasons in, and we're talking about signing another goalkeeper. Again, this is the poor recruitment that's been going on in Manchester United. I feel like we've been talking about the midfield for 10 years straight. And it's because we never actually fix the problems. We never actually recruit properly. And it always falls apart every 2 seasons or so. And then we have to go back in and we have to try and fix it again. And we never do because we make the wrong or bad signing. So hopefully, if we go in for a goalkeeper, we actually get it right this time moving forward. I think, you know, I still have a little bit of encouragement, regardless of, you know, the other things that are going on with Ineos. But at least their transfers so far have been pretty good. So I have some faith that we're going to get maybe some good players, hopefully in the summer, but we got to see. Lion says Garcia seems the logical to me. He's young, lots of experience, will cost no more than 25 million. Really get the Gea vibes from him. Well, I don't know enough about him to put my 2 cents to that, but I'll take your word for it. Richard says our first priority has to be a striker. Well, I think for sure. I think if we're gonna order them, I don't think anybody's gonna put goalkeeping position as #1 priority. I think everybody is pretty much. I think everybody's pretty much set on the striker for sure, because we've needed that striker for 2 seasons now. It's going to be a 3rd season, and we actually have to address that issue. You know, and United Central saying Onana has blown it at #1, and so he needs to be sold. Baynder is not going to be good enough to be the #1 for us, so I'd prefer to sell both and get new keepers in. Yeah, I mean, and I think those are deals that we can do. I think we probably can sell Onana. Again, has to be, you know, Onana has to be willing to go as well. But I think we could probably find some interest for Onana. And as I remember, I think Baynder still holds some value and some interest in Turkey, so maybe we'll end up selling him back to Turkey. So I think those two are probably a little bit more easier to do than you know, some of the other players that we want or feel like need to be sold. We actually have a list from the Manchester Evening News that we're going to get into, that they have listed up to 10 possible players that are going to be permanently sold in the summer. I think most of us have a general idea of who they are, but we'll get to it. Grace is here as well. She says, hello there, my smelly peasants. Hello, Grace. How are you? Lyle says, all hail the queen. Yes, all hail Queen Grace. And Grace is saying that it's spin, 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 and more spins than Booker T. Well, could very well be. I mean, we're in an international break. A lot of spin does tend to come out because they got to try and keep something going on when nothing's going on, really. So, you know. United Central says, if Onana leaves, we can get Costa. I know it isn't a guarantee, but it's a possibility. We can't be settling for another mediocre keeper. Well, we definitely can't be settling for another mediocre keeper. I would, you know what I would actually like? I would actually like for a goalkeeper that isn't kind of on our radar, to come to the forefront. A name that maybe isn't generally talked about. If you were to ask people right now, what goalkeeper would you want? And you took a large portion, there would be a lot of repetitive names. I would like United to find somebody that, you know, isn't necessarily on the fans' radar right now, but that fits the bill of what we need, because that to me just shows that we're actually doing our homework properly, and that we're, you know, we're doing the job correctly. And that gets me a little bit more excited, because it's like we're actually doing our due diligence. And then I would also be excited to see that keeper, because I'd be like, you know what, I haven't heard much about this guy, or I don't know too much, so I want to see what he is. But of course, it has to be the correct signing. Like United Central saying, it can't just be some mediocre player. We need quality. Lines is asking how much would cost the cost. I believe Costa would probably cost anywhere from 60 to 80 million from Porto's standpoint. Now Porto has had some financial troubles as of recent, but I think they're actually fixing it. So that's not going to help us because they have, if anybody remembers, Andre Villas-Boas, who managed Chelsea. He had a hiatus away from football for numerous amounts of years. He's now come back, and he is actually their president. He was just elected, and since he's taken over, from my understanding, he's doing a very good job with their finances. He's sorting that out because they were struggling financially for quite some time. They sold a couple players in January. They've boosted that aspect. So they might not be in the desperate situation as they were for money, which then hurts the negotiation side from our side. But yeah, from my understanding, he might even have a buyout clause. I'm not 100% sure on that, but the last time I was talking to my Porto friend, he was saying something like that, 60 to 80 million range. So I don't think we'll be getting Costa. But we never know. I mean, we might be able to go into negotiations and get him for a lower fee. But as it stands right now, I think they're going to demand a high fee. So I'm not 100% sure. Grace is asking for Thomas Kuszczak. Yeah, let's go get Ben Foster back. I'm here for Ben Foster. Richard has left us. Good night, Richard. Thank you for stopping by. Grace says, is the Labour government paying for these players? We are broke. Sick of the players we are not going to get. Well, we got to get somebody, right? And I think we're going to get somebody. But you know, as we know, Grace, our name is connected to tons and tons of players. There's a lot of spin, whether it comes from United or it comes from the players' agents trying to drum up interest for their players or stuff. You know, and we try our best to navigate through this, but at the end of the day, we're gonna have to get some players. You know, whether we're broke or not. You know, I think we'll have some money. I just think it depends how much money we will actually have. And you know, there's no way. There's no way that we won't be able to sign a certain amount of players. I don't know what quality of players and how much we're gonna pay, but there's no way that we have Ruben. They've gotten Ruben Amorim. They signed him one player in January, and they've been talking about the summer, and we get to the summer and we don't sign any of these players. Now obviously last summer, you know, Matthijs de Ligt was one that wasn't really talked about up until it was like confirmed that we were interested in going for him. So maybe that happens again once we get closer. Maybe we're still too far away because, you know, it's March. It's about to be April. And there's still, you know, a good 2 months before the season ends. So maybe we'll get a clearer path then. But Gray's pointing out, so a new goalkeeper, centre-back, a midfielder, a 10, and a striker. You need 300 million. Well, maybe around there. Maybe around there. I'm trying to put pieces together in my head. But I think Ineos are trying to do things where we don't spend over about 50 million for each signing. So, you know, 40 million, 80 million, 120, 160, 180, 180. I maybe closer to 200 million, but you know, again, that's we don't know the actual financial situation. In terms of how much money do we actually have? Do we only have 100 million? Do we have 60? You know, how many players are we going to sell? What kind of the deals are they going to do? How is that going to free up some money for us to buy more players? Because I kind of think, I get what you're saying, Grace, but I kind of look at it as, I think Ineos are going to try and do something where they're spending anywhere from 30 to 45 million on each player, and kind of lower that the buys, that might mean that, you know, we might not get, for example, we might not get Osimhen. We might get somebody else that maybe costs 40 million or something like that. I don't know. You know, it's a tricky situation. I don't think anybody has necessarily the answer. Grace says, I think our main problem is finding a better manager. Well, maybe, but they you know, they're gonna stick with him. So, Grace says Heaton, Evans, Lindelof, and Eriksson go on a free. Malacia, Sancho, Rashford, and Anthony out on permanent deals, and potentially Casemiro going too. Plus Amorim has to leave as well. Well, he's not going to leave, Grace. Not at least for next season. I mean, I think it really depends what they do in January. I mean, in the summer, and then it depends how the season goes from there as well. So. Lion says, I hope United are doing business already and aren't waiting for the window is open. Well, it seems like they kind of are. Seems like they kind of are with this news that we're kind of getting. And then, you know, there's an update on Tyler Dibling. So it seems like we're inquiring about players. It seems like we're having some sort of discussions here and there. I think they're trying to, I think they're using this period to kind of sort out and get the general feel, and then maybe go for it. I think part of the problem, Lions, is that again we don't know exactly where we're gonna finish financially, and I think therefore, unfortunately, like how Chelsea has already signed 2 players, I don't think we can kind of do something like that 100% because they don't know exactly how much money we're going to have. So they're trying to do the planning as best as possible, and probably give themselves a good amount of options, depending on, you know, if we finish with this amount of money or we finish with this amount of money. And then when we actually finish the season and we know for sure, they'll go with, you know, this route or the other route. And hopefully at least they're doing that, because I don't see if they could do anything else. Ben Foster greater than Taibbi, David De Gea, Van der Sar, and Schmeichel. Yeah, I don't think we need 300 million. I think there's deals to be done that we can do. But one of the names that have been linked to Manchester United as of recently is Nemeka. If that's even how you pronounce his name, Nemecha. Whatever. So Manchester United apparently are closely monitoring Felix Nemecha. Other Premier League clubs, including Newcastle United, Arsenal, Chelsea, and Aston Villa, are also interested in the 24-year-old Dortmund talent. These clubs are waiting to assess his injury situation before making a potential 48 million euro offer, with plans to hold off on any bid until Nemecha returns to the pitch. Now, Grace is saying, no. Well, for you, Grace, this update came from the Muppeteers following that, saying that Felix Nemecha to Manchester United seems unlikely. So if you don't want him, it doesn't seem, according to the Muppeteers and United Red Report, that he seems likely to come to Manchester United. I will say, you know, I feel like, I don't know why, maybe because they signed Marlon or something. I kind of feel like he will end up maybe at a Villa. I you know, I'm not too sure about Chelsea. And maybe there's a potential for Arsenal because, you know, there's the Thomas Partey thing. They might move him on. They might keep him. If they move him on, maybe they bring him in. But I'm not sure. But I just, you know, I don't get the feeling he's gonna come to us. I feel like, you know, if he is gonna go somewhere, he's probably gonna end up at another club. So yeah, I'm not 100% sold on that. Now the clear out at Manchester United, and here's the list coming from the Manchester Evening News, saying that Manchester United are planning to let as many as 10 players leave the club permanently this summer. I think we've all been kind of saying this anyway for like the whole season. The list that they've listed is Rashford, Casemiro, Anthony, Sancho, Eriksson, Lindelof, Malacia, Shaw, Evans, and Heaton. I think it's a pretty obvious list. I think if we sat down and said, what players need to leave at the end of the season, I think this list is pretty much what everybody would mostly say. Funnily enough, they didn't put ONANA in there while the other ONANA stories were coming out. This came out, I think, after the ONANA news, so they didn't include ONANA. So, again, you're seeing two sides, and to how the transfer goes. Gray says, I miss Shaw, but I misses Shaw, but he ain't leaving. Well, maybe not. I think United will try to look to move him on, but whether we're gonna be able to figure out or be able to actually move him on, I think is two different it's two different discussions. I think United, I think these players here, I think United are going to make moves to actually move them out. Whether we're going to be able to actually move them out is a different story then. I think Rashford is one that will be able to get off the books. I think Casemiro is a problem, is an issue, and it's going to be a struggle. And I don't feel so confident in him actually going. I feel like there is a big chance that he might still be here going into next season. I think Anthony, with the way Anthony is playing at the current moment, there's probably a better chance of him going than before. And hopefully he continues to play good, because the better he plays, the longer he plays good, the more of a chance that we can actually move him on and sell him. I think Sancho is definitely gone. I don't think Sancho is coming back in any capacity. I believe it's the freedom fighter's birthday today. So I wish him a happy freedom. But yeah, I don't think he's coming back. I know there's been stories about Sancho that Chelsea might not buy him. We got the update on the fee. The fee, if they don't buy him and they send them back to us, is 5 million, which isn't really a lot, but technically, to pay 5 million and get nothing out of it is kind of, if you're worried about money, it certainly is. There's also been updates saying that apparently Sancho was handed in a transfer request. I guess I don't know who he handed it to. I don't know if it's Chelsea. I guess it would be Chelsea, and not United. But he wants to go to Borussia Dortmund. Apparently, Borussia Dortmund are interested in taking him back. And that Chelsea may be looking to pay us, get him, and then sell him in one quick swoop, which I think is absolutely ironic. And I find irony to be funny, because for all the talk about him, Chelsea don't want him, and they're gonna pay for him and get him out. I don't know how to put that in any other way. That how not good you have to be for a club to spend money on you and throw you out immediately, basically labeling you as it was a mistake what we did and we're gonna rectify it. I think one of the things though that may happen, that I'm gonna try and predict, is I feel like Chelsea are gonna buy Sancho for the 25 million, and they're gonna end up selling Sancho to Dortmund or one of the other clubs mentioned for 30 million, 35 million. They're gonna sell that. Chelsea fans are gonna make fun of us for it. United fans are gonna have a meltdown, because they're gonna be like, well, why couldn't we sell him for 30, 35 million and we sold him for 25 million? I mean, I guess, but at this point, I really don't give a shit. I want his name no longer attached to Manchester United. I don't want us following news. He's in the past. He's done and dusted. We need to look forward. And as soon as this saga actually finally comes to an end and nobody gives a shit about him anymore and stops talking about him, the better. So Yeah, I don't care. If we sell him, if Chelsea gives us 25 and they flip him for 35 or they flip him for 30, let them have their little profit. I don't care. There's certain players that it comes to a point at the club, we need to cut our losses and move on. We need to cut our losses and move on. Like Anthony is one. We signed him for 80 million. The club is going to try and play games and ask for 40 million. Obviously try and get the highest price, but like don't kill the deal because you're trying to get an extra 5 or 10 million. We need to move these players on. We need to cut our losses. These were mistakes made from the previous regime. Don't carry them over, Ineos. Cut them and let's move forward. Because we need to move forward as a football club. We can't be standing still and we can't be going backwards. Ericsson, I think, is obvious. He's not getting a new contract, and I think he's going to go. Lindelof is, again, another one. Malacia is on loan. It's going to be interesting to see, I think we'll be able to sell Malacia. I don't think it's a problem. I just don't think we're going to get a lot of money for him. Maybe 10 million, maybe 15. Shaw, again, I think United will look to sell him, but the issues that are brought up by the fan base, the most obvious one is that he's literally made of paper mache, and who's gonna want to buy that? And if somebody is gonna want to buy that, it's probably gonna be like a very low level tier club that's not gonna pay him a high wage in any aspect. Also, he's on contract, so he doesn't have to accept to go. I mean, he barely plays as it is. So at this point, he might not even give a shit anymore. He might just be like, I'll run my contract out because I'm getting paid. I don't know how much he gets paid, 100 and something thousand a week. And I would assume that maybe a team would offer him 50,000 a week. And he's like, yeah, I barely play. Now, the only thing that might help him is if he gets kicked out of England, because we all know Luke Shaw loves England more than anything in the world, other than maybe McDonald's or something. No, I'm kidding. That's a fat joke. I'm sorry. But it was easy. It was low hanging fruit. No, but he loves England more than anything. He actually puts England over Manchester United. So that might be the one thing that maybe will be able to maybe get his agent or him to try and garner a transfer somewhere so that he can play. If he gets kicked out of the England squad and he loses his first team spot at Manchester United, which I think he already has, because I think Dorgu, is good, and I think Dorgu deserves to start even when Shaw comes back. And probably going forward, that's going to happen anyway, because Shaw is injury prone and he needs to be playing less minutes and I guess less games. So he's got to kind of become the backup. So I don't know. Evans, we all know Evans. Big respect to Johnny Evans. But he's too old. We haven't seen him since Amorim's come in. I don't even know if he's injured or not, or he's just not playing. I assume he's injured. But yeah, I think we've been saying that, this was his last season for quite some time, so no surprise there. And then Heaton is Heaton, again, old guard goalkeeper, but again, the goalkeeping department, that's 3 goalkeepers. Heaton's out. They would look to move Binder on, and they would look to move ONANA on. So, yeah. Lyle says, who would buy Shaw? A loan move is not an option. Dude will be back at Carrington in a couple of hours after leaving. I don't know. You know what, though? Football is a funny thing, right? Because we as fans always say this, right? We look at it one way, and I guess inside the bubble of football, they kind of see it in a different way. And I'm not saying there's clubs lining up for Luke Shaw, but I feel like we always do this type of thing where we say, oh, who would buy that player? Or who would come to United, or what manager would come to United, or why would that player go there, or who would go to that club? But then it ends up happening one way or another in a different way, it ends up happening in a weird way. Um, I think as fans, we look at United, we look at the mess, and we're like, I don't know, get a top manager, get Carlo Ancelotti or somebody like that, and you'd be like, if they went to him and offered him the United job, the way we look at it, we're like, who in their right mind would take this job? It's a mess, it's a disaster. Why would you do that? But they then end up doing it, or somebody ends up doing it. So we say things like this, like, I mean, we kind of said something similar about Alexis Sanchez, but like, who's going to take Sanchez? Who's going to take this player? Now, they're not here. We eventually got them out one way or another. Obviously, we paid half of Alexis Sanchez's wages to get him out, but we still got him out. So, yeah, I get, like, who's going to take Luke Shaw? Because even I say the same thing, and I think the same thing. Like, you look at Luke Shaw, you look at his injury record, and you're like, what football club in the right mind would be like, yeah, let's get Luke Shaw? But I bet you that there's at least one. At least one. I don't know who they are. I don't know where it'll be, but I bet you there's one at least. And now, can you do a deal with that? I don't know. But yeah. Gray says if Casemiro wasn't on so much money, I would keep him for his final year. Yeah. Listen, I mean, since he's come back in, he's been playing pretty good. And maybe as a squad player, but Grace makes the valid point that you can't have a squad player on 350,000 a week. It's just not plausible. It's just not something that we can do. So, and what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Offer him another year at a reduced wage? I mean, he's not going to accept it. He's just going to run it out. So I think in the Casemiro aspect, we're in a very bad spot in terms of power. We don't hold the power necessarily in this. He doesn't have to leave. He doesn't have to accept to leave. He gets paid $350,000 a week. We're desperate to get him off of our books because of that, and also because we're struggling financially. And there's nothing we can really do about it. There is really no maneuver. It's really actually, on the interest on him, and then it comes up to him as well. And they've been trying to link him to Saudi, and there's been stories saying that Casemiro does not want to go to Saudi Arabia. He does not want to relocate his family. He's at very much at the end of his career. He says that they fit in England and doesn't want to do any of that stuff. So he seems very reluctant to leave. So it's a big issue and it's a big problem with him. Now, maybe in the summer things change, but it doesn't feel that way to me as of right now. Lion says he would give Evans one more year. I don't know about. I mean, he hasn't been around. He doesn't feature. I actually, there was a period I kind of forgot that he was still at the club. I love Johnny Evans, and big respect to him, but I think, again, the player, we need to move on. We need to move on. We do have updates coming around the center back as well, because there's updates about Harry Maguire, and Branthwaite. Lyle says Sancho is toxic. I would see Rashford and Anthony back. Oh yeah, I mean, even for Marcus Rashford, I would take Marcus Rashford back, over Jadon Sancho any day of the week. I would say, Rashford has to go and we need him sold. But I don't have, I guess I don't have a disdain for Rashford the way I do for Sancho, and it's simply because of what Sancho did publicly and the way he acts publicly. And I know people can bring up, Rashford's, going to Belfast and, doing this and that. But Sancho was a more direct disrespect towards the club. Rashford's was more just of like, I guess the way he carries himself off the field, but it wasn't like it wasn't a direct shots at the club. And yeah. So, but you know, one of my big things is Rashford. When he's with us, not sprinting back, and we seen him do it for England the other day. And you know, I see that, and it hurts. It pains me. It actually. That's something that gets under my skin, that makes me boil, because it's just like, why don't why like, you can obviously do it, and you weren't doing it for us. um and now you go to Villa, you do it there, and you do it for England, but you know, at United, the club you grew up at, you stop doing it. And for that sole reason is the reason why he has to go. Because that's clearly an issue. There's clearly a problem, and I don't think that's something that we can fix at this point. So, you know, Shaw loves cheesecake. The fat little rubber duck, says Grace. Lion says we're better than that. Yes, we are. We are. Stephanie is here as well. Big up, Stephanie. How are you? Grace says we will know when Shaw is back because the ground will shake. And then Grace is accusing me of bullying Shaw. Meanwhile, you know, all those comments I just read out. Lyle says, case in point, Anthony, everyone asked who would come in for him, and Bettis came knocking. Sure, it's a loan, but it's setting up Anthony to leave. Yeah, you know, I think, again, you know, my friend in Malta was saying the same thing. Lyle, he was saying, who's going to take this player? Who's going to take that player? And I'm like, listen, I get it. As fans, we look at it, and we're like, who the fuck is going to take this guy? But football, the players, the clubs, the managers, they live in their own little bubble. They view things differently than us. We are the outsiders. We view stuff from one perspective. They are the insiders. They view from a different perspective, and somehow it tends to happen. Although, again, I think with Shaw, it's very difficult because it's not just about just interest; it's about his interest as well. And Shaw strikes me as one of these guys that he would rather just take the money than moving on, unless it comes to England. I think that's something that we might have to do. Like me playing a little bit of chess, knowing how Luke Shaw feels about England, I'd be like, well, Luke, you're no longer our number one. You're going to be number two, Dorgu. And with Tuchel being there, maybe there's not so much favoritism. Maybe he doesn't like Luke Shaw. Maybe he doesn't like the fact that Luke Shaw isn't, you know, readily available, and his fitness record is a worry. So maybe he replaces him. And then Luke Shaw goes, well, I love England more than anything. I want to play for England. So I need to leave. Because I'm number two here. I ain't gonna get in number one. And I gotta go somewhere. But that's a long stretch. You know, I'm just kind of making up the scenario as of right now. But that's one way I would kind of see it. Yeah, Steph says United need professional footballers, not celebrities that play football. Well, definitely. I mean, and that's kind of been part of our problem, right? Is that, you know, United went full on commercial after Sir Alex, and you know, we have a hand in that, Steph. We have a hand in that. I think somebody like Marcus, he was a footballer. He was an innocent kid. He was a kid that came at a period of time where, you know, under LVG, we were playing shit boring football. It was a little bit of a struggle. Now, he did win the FA Cup, but, like, you know, it wasn't great because we were still used to the Fergie football, and you know, it was far away from that. And he came in, and he was, you know, he was an innocent kid at the time, just living the dream. I mean, you know, getting to start and scoring goals, and making a spot for himself in the first team. And from that period on, you know, we had a culture and an environment that allowed this this focus away from football. It was very much opposite of Sir Alex. Sir Alex tried to do everything to make sure that footballers understood that they're footballers first, and all that other shit that they're getting, whether it's sponsorship deals, commercials, etc., you're only getting that because of the football. And then after Sir Alex, we kind of moved away from that, and it kind of flipped around. It was like, yeah, you're a footballer at United, but like you can be a star, you can be a celebrity just because you play for the name of Manchester United, and we went very wrong there. So Grace says, I hear Burger King are low on staff. Are they really? I might go apply. Actually, it might not be best if shows around burgers. Yeah, we don't need that. Lyle says, you can see the culture change, though. At least we are slowly changing who and what players we bring in. Look at all our signings these last 2 windows, pure class. Yeah, and I think even like their attitude, even the way they carry themselves, you hear them speak, you see the way they carry themselves on the pitch. You can kind of tell that culture is shifting. But you're not gonna undo 12 years of fucked up culture and fucked up mentality, in a season or two. It's gonna take some time. So I think we're making progress on that front, slowly but surely. The most important thing is that we just have to continue to chip away at it. And we're impatient as fans. We want this shit sorted out, by next season. And I think we should continue to demand, because it keeps the pressure and it keeps the standards up. But I think we should also have the understanding that, like, in reality, this is going to take some time. But as long as we see some sort of progress on that end moving forward, I think we can kind of be okay in that aspect. But Lion says, I think that's all very unfair. Just look back to Jones. He tried everything to play again, and people were all saying that he's just staying for the paycheck. Well, yeah, I mean, you have a point, again, because we are the outsiders and we're not insiders, so we don't know what goes on behind the scenes and with the players and discussions and stuff like that. And then we view it one way and maybe they view it another way. But it is an aspect of football. I mean, the reason why that happens is because a lot of players and human beings in general, but players, there are players that chase the money. There are players that, take that into account. I think that's just a human trait, that they look into that. Now, I'm not saying he's a mercenary. I'm just saying when you piece the situation together, there's different aspects that, well, he's not going to get paid the same, but that's not even it. Then he's also not going to be at a club like Manchester United, because he's not going to get into a club that's in my opinion, the top 10. I mean, jokes there, we're not in the top 10, but, in general, and his number one concern has always been England. I mean, when he goes on international duty, he's said some not so, I guess, good things about United when he's away from international duty. I think he stated numerous times that how much he likes England and the England camp over being at Manchester United. So, it's difficult to judge. I'm not saying he's 100% I'm not saying it's mercenary driven. I'm just saying when you try and piece all the kind of aspects together, he doesn't have to leave. He doesn't have to move on. And he might be trying everything he can to stay fit, but he just can't. He just can't. And as a club as Manchester United, that's supposed to be playing in all the competitions and all the big competitions, playing, I don't know, 60 something matches a season, he obviously can't handle that workload. His body cannot do it. So, Ray says, we can't allow our fraud manager to bring in his ex-players. or what's the point of the director of football and scouts? Well, we don't even have a director of football right now. I mean, technically, I guess we do, but technically we don't. I guess Vavel and Wilcox have taken over those responsibilities for the time being, but we don't technically have one. Ashworth was that. He got sacked and nobody has come in to replace him. So and I get that. I mean, I don't think that we should be. Listen, if Ruben Amorim brings one or two of his ex players, it's not a massive problem. I think people are suffering from Eric Ten Hag PTSD because he did a lot of that. Now Ugarte is one that was brought in before Ruben Amorim, so he doesn't necessarily count. And I don't think Ogarte's been he's not a bad signing anyway. I think again a balance is good. Like Ruben Amorim should not be signing 4 or 5 ex players that he's managed with. I think that's far too many, and that's strange. I think if there's 1 or 2 that fit the system, but that also that fit the bill of what we're scouting, I don't have a problem with it. But then we should also be getting other players, like Grace is saying, that, our director of football and our scouts are doing, that they know and can come to an agreement with Ruben Amorim. Listen, this player can adapt to the Premier League if they're not from the Premier League. They'll also fit your system well. They have the correct profile in terms of a player, but also, character, attitude, mentality, etc., etc. I think Dorgu is one that is an example. Like, he has no history to Ruben Amorim. He's young, and I think he fits the profile of what United are trying to bring in players. So, if we do get a Trincão, whatever, if we get 1 or 2 players, I don't think it's necessarily a problem. If it starts going down the Ten Hag path, it's a little bit more concerning, because then I think we don't have a clear-cut idea of what we're doing, and therefore we're just signing players that are familiar with the manager, which is a problem, because if Ruben Amorim doesn't succeed, if Ruben Amorim gets sacked, then we're probably screwed following up to the next manager, which is why we can't be doing things like that. Sadiq is in here. Sadiq, how you doing? Yeah, but we can move on because we have a couple more updates that we need to get to, and yeah, before we close out the show. And where was I? Oh, we have an update on Mainu. So this came out, Muppeteers United reports, saying that there's much more of a chance for Garnacho to leave than Mainu this summer. Followed up by Kobe Mainu's new contract negotiations are very active, and it is strongly believed that the deal will be closed. The club wants him to stay. Now, these two things have come following, I believe Ruben Amorim was asked about players like Kobe Mainu and Garnacho, and I believe his statement was somewhere along the lines of, we want players like them at the club and we want them to stay. So again, I think Amorim kind of saying, I don't want to sell Garnacho. Garnacho is a player that I can work with. He's young, and I'm willing to work with him, and he has, ability and skills that are manageable, and I would like to continue working with him. And obviously Kobe Mainu is another one, and he's not really looking to it. Again, I think if we do end up selling Garnacho, maybe it comes from him a little bit. If he's looking to move, maybe he feels like he wants to go. But then also it would probably come from the club with the whole PSR thing. He's an academy player. He's pure profit. And we need money, apparently. But I think from our manager standpoint, he's not really looking to do that. I am happy that this is supposedly going to be sorted out soon, because, the talk last time was that Mainu was asking for, 180,000 a week or something like that, which I'm not going to blame him on that. He's got his side. We have our side, or the club side. His agent is just trying to get him the best deal. And kind of, to be fair to Mano, I mean, I know 180,000 for a player of his age is a lot. Um, but obviously, I guess they'll settle for a little bit less. I think they went high so they could get, a better number. But he is considered an important player for us. He has been an important player, well, this season he suffered a little bit of injuries, but last season, I mean, we ran him to death because he was just that important and we needed him there. And he played an important role. So his wages should reflect the player that is considered a starter and is considered an important player in the squad as of right now. So, but the better, the faster we get that wrapped up, the better. So, Steph pointing out we got 10 likes. Yes, 10 likes. Thank you to everybody that smashed the like button. Helps us out greatly. Lyle says, I think Garnacho will be a United player next season. Well, I hope so. I again, I'm not in the camp of moving on these types of players. We just had a list of 10 people to get out. And not including ONANA and Binder. I mean, that's 12. That for me, the focus is on that list. Those are the players that we need to get out, and move on. And everybody else, you stay here and we evaluate the upcoming season. I know some people, and Grace is gonna protest, but we need to talk about it. I mean, some people would want to sell Diego Dalot. And again, for me, it's not a priority. He is not somebody that is a major issue as of right now. We have a list of 10 to 12 players that those players need to be dealt with. Everybody else at the squad, I think they're usable. They're definitely usable for the next season, and we should be keeping them. And we should be adding to the squad and then evaluating as we go forward and see what happens there. Because, we go through the next season and maybe somebody's like, all right, well, let's get a new right wing back now or whatever. Even maybe like Højlund or Xerxes. Now, Højlund's in his second season. He's struggled this season a lot more than his first season. And Omar Barada once famously said that you have 1 to 2 seasons to sort of prove your worth or we move you on. And we're going to see how tightly they're kind of following that, if they are at all. But again, there's the financial implications for Højlund as well with the whole PSR stuff. So, I don't necessarily think we should even sell Højlund. I think we should give him another season. We should get the striker that we all know that we need, experienced one, and let's see how that goes. And then move on from there. Lion says, Wheeler Dealer keeps going down on Manu's wage demands. Next month, Wheeler will leak a new story with a lower demand. Eriksson leaving is going to be an emotional one. Yeah, I mean, big respect to Christian Eriksen. He's an utmost professional player. And, he does his thing and he's a quiet guy. And, obviously he had that thing with his heart and he almost died. And, thankfully he didn't and he's still here. Yeah, it's a little bit of a tough one because, he's a good guy. He's an experienced player. He's a good worker, hard worker. But his time's up. And we got to move on. So, yeah, I mean, if we had a prime Eriksson with Herrera and Mata, yeah. But I mean, yeah, that. But this is what I'm saying. Like, we never got the areas in the pitch. We never got it right. We never got it correct. Like, it was like 3 seasons. I remember everybody was screaming and shouting about the midfield. The midfield. We need to fix the midfield. Even when I look now, I kind of think like the midfield's still missing something. We're missing something at striker. We're missing something at the wingers. We need another number 10 now. we might still need a wing back. We need a goalkeeper. Like we've never actually sorted this. Even at center back, you can make an argument. Maybe we need one more center back. So yeah, I didn't like them putting Mata on the wing That wasn't good either. It's kind of like the same thing when they put Bruno on the wing. Like, stop doing it. Stop doing it. But there was an update about Tyler Dibling, saying Manchester United have inquired about Tyler Dibling. Jason Wilcox knows Dibling from his time at Southampton. We talked about Dibling on the last show. We got an update about Dibling now. And there was another update about Dibling following that, saying Chris Wheeler saying Manchester United were among the clubs in Bangor to watch Tyler Dibling with England under-19 against Wales. 14 Premier League clubs have inquired about him. So, yeah, I guess you could say that Tyler Dibling is red hot right now in terms of transfers, considering that there are 14 Premier League clubs. That is like over 75% of the Premier League are looking to sign this guy. Again, he's a player I like. He impressed me. Every time I watched him play, the first time I seen him play, I said, who was that? Who was that? Because I didn't know who he was. And I wanted to know who he was immediately. And ever since then, I watched him. He always puts in, I don't know. He puts in a performance that reminds me of a little bit of a traditional United team player performance. He reminds me of a player that I feel like he would go into Ferguson's squad. Now, I'm not saying he would be a superstar, but he would be a player that would definitely serve a great purpose in a Ferguson squad, probably in the later 2000s. He feels like that type of player to me, and I don't know. I want him. I want him to come to United. I don't know if we're gonna get him because there's 14 Premier League clubs apparently at least interested in him in one way or another. But you know, Southampton are gonna get relegated. So maybe we could get him for a decent fee, but then again, if there's a transfer war going on, then maybe the price gets really inflated. So, you know, I'm not Lyle's saying unfortunately we're going to get priced out for Dibling. Well, that could very well happen, you know, especially if some of the bigger clubs get in on it. So, you know, Lion says that's okay. He's not worth what they're asking for. What are they asking for? Because I haven't seen a price tag as of late. So Lion says, give me Bonkiri any day. Well, we do have Bonkiri as well. We got a couple of them down there. Who was the other one? There was one that was mentioned today, and I forgot his name. I think it was Lacey. We have Lacey as well, but he's more of a striker, isn't he? Or attacking mid. He's not a winger, is he? Yeah, they mentioned Lacey today about something. So there was that. Victor Lindelof has played 90 minutes for Sweden today, had 83 touches, 1 tackle, 5 clearances, and 0 dribbled past. And they played Northern Ireland, and Sweden won 5-1. So yeah. We do have some updates on Diallo as well, which I'm gonna get to in a second. Yeah, anybody know what they're asking for Dibling? We'll jump back into that. But Trincão update coming out today. Francisco Trincão is an option for Manchester United this summer, coming from Chris Wheeler. And then the second update to that is that Trincão interest is genuine. He's liked, but anything else is premature at this stage. Deal also believed not to be expensive if we do pursue one. So maybe this is a deal that we can be looking to do. Lyle saying Quenda has that we dodged the bullet vibe to him. Well, maybe so, but I mean, he didn't even want to play the position. Apparently, he didn't want to play the position that we were looking to get him in. Trincão is an interesting one because he is obviously an ex-player of Ruben Amorim's. He's played the system of Ruben Amorim. He's obviously also Portuguese. He had some fairly experience. He played very well for Portugal. The match 2 days ago, he played very good. So maybe one to watch. And it's believed as of right now that, you know, if we were to do a deal for him, it's not going to be super expensive, so it might fit down right down the alley of what we need. And again, I have no problem with this. If Ruben Amorim gets Trincão and Himland, whatever his name is, and those are two signings, I'm very good with that. And then if we end up getting, you know, 2 or 3 other players that have nothing to do with Ruben Amorim or the Portuguese or a Portuguese league, then yeah, I think that's okay, and that's a good balance with that. One of the things I will say though is, because I know people are, you know, again, PTSD from Erik ten Hag. We signed all these Dutch players, and I guess people don't want to be like signing all these Portuguese players. I will say though, there's a big difference though, because yeah, Dutch players, there's some very good Dutch players out there, but in my opinion, Portuguese players have for a while now have been pretty dominant in terms of the quality of them. Now, not all of them are, you know, superstars. I mean, João Felix was supposed to be one. Look at him. You know, and it happens. But the Premier League has a large history with Portuguese players, and them being successful or them being good, them adapting to the Premier League football. And Portuguese players have, you know, their academies are fantastic. They've been producing top talents for 10, 15, 20 years. So I understand maybe you don't want to do this PTSD, but I always, before Ruben Amorim, I always used to tell my Portuguese friends, and I used to tell them, you're very lucky that I'm not in charge of Manchester United, because I would be absolutely rating all of your teams and your league for players, because I think that they just have top quality youth prospects and players, and they make some very good players. So I wouldn't be necessarily against it, but you know, we got Bruno, we've had our Ronaldo in the past, we've had our Nani, so you know, we don't have a terrible record with Portuguese players either. We have obviously Delo, you know, so they haven't been bad for us either, and they're not bad for the Premier League. So yeah, I get why people don't want to do this whole rerun of Erik ten Hag and Dutch players with Ruben Amorim and Portuguese players, but I think it's actually on two different levels. I think the Portuguese players are actually a level up over the pool of Dutch players. So yeah, but we had an update on Maguire as well. Maguire, Samuel Luckhurst saying Harry Maguire was not risked at at Leicester 9 days ago, but the Forest game has been targeted as his return from a 4-week absence. We then got some interchangeable. Shout out Rajad, how are you? We got some interchangeable news that had to go with Maguire, the centre back position, and Branthwaite. And this came that said that Manchester United want to replace Harry Maguire with Jared Branthwaite. The footballer is valued at £70 million, which is absolutely absurd, by Everton. Then this update also came in saying that the club, oh, sorry about that. The club has been trying to sell Maguire for the past 2 markets, but his high salary demands have caused clubs to pull out of the deal. Now, this source said that, you know, United want to replace Maguire with Jared Branthwaite. The footballer is valued at 70 million. I don't necessarily buy this part. I think again, I said this last time. I think this is going off of. I think this is going off last year's sort of transfer strategy. Eric Ten Hag, Dan Ashworth. I think Dan Ashworth was heavily involved in trying to get Branthwaite. I think he really wanted Branthwaite. Dan Ashworth is no longer with us, and Eric Ten Hag is no longer with us. So I don't believe that United are trying to replace Harry Maguire with Jared Branthwaite specifically. But what I do believe from this, because I know that this is to be true, because it's been reported multiple times, is that the club had been trying to move on Maguire for the past two markets. They were trying to do it in the summer. It didn't work out for one reason or another. He wanted a compensation fee. We weren't willing to pay that fee, and it never really materialized. He ended up staying. And I think maybe that situation might happen in the summer again. I don't think they're not desperate like Casemiro. I think if they keep Maguire, they're okay because they deem him as, he's experienced. He's a good professional. He carries himself well. But I think that they are still like, if we can move him on, we will, and we'll bring somebody else in that's younger, that's going to have more of a future going forward with this project. Now, what plays into what I said, coming from Chris Wheeler and Nassault, who are more credible than this journalist here, than Fletcher's, Faz Fletcher, is that Manchester United had no contact with Jared Branthwaite's camp about signing him for some time, which plays into the fact that I think, again, any news story that's linking United and Branthwaite, maybe it's coming from Branthwaite's agent, but it has nothing to do with us. It has nothing to do with us. I don't think we're interested in signing him anymore, especially with Everton still trying to hold out for 70 million. I just don't think there's any chance. Maybe they would think about it if Everton was like, listen, we'll sell him for 40 million. Maybe they might be slightly piqued, slightly interested. I think if anything, we're looking at other targets. We're looking at other people, especially now that we have Ruben Amorim, different system, different type of football. They might be looking for a different sort of a center back. And also following that was that, and this is coming from Dean Jones Soccer, saying Everton has no intention of selling Jared Branthwaite. So I think the Branthwaite thing for me is just a bunch of baloney, pretty much. And again, I don't think there's anything in that. And Lyons is excited about Mag's back. Some stability. Yep, hopefully he stays fit. Rajat saying get Frimpong and a new number 10. Well, we need a number 10 for sure. I would like Frimpong. I don't know if we're going to get him. He's not that expensive. He's 40 million. I think that's right in the range of something that we can do. But if we get Frimpong, then we probably gotta sell Delo, I guess. The right-hand side will be very stacked, that's for sure. Or maybe we'll have Delo play backup left back or left back or something. Maybe we get rid of Shaw. I mean, there's some things that we could do and move around. I like Frimpong. I think Frimpong would be very good. I think Frimpong would be very exciting to have. I don't know how high on the list he is, though. I think number 1, striker. And number 2, probably number 10. To play in that position. I think those two are pretty high. And then where do you go from there? I mean, you can start picking and choosing where you really want to be. Branthwaite is okay. I think Man United can move away. Yeah, I mean, Rajat saying that, maybe we get Trincão and Cunha. We don't need to spend that kind of money on a center back. Yeah, I don't think we do. I think if we get a player for maybe like 30 million or a little bit less, Rajat wants to get Inacio. Well, yeah, I mean, I'm not against Inacio. We got to see what kind of deal we can do. And I think if I'm not wrong, well, he's Portuguese, so I'm not sure, but Inacio's agent is in George Mendes, right? Because I think I want to follow that story that they said that we cut all ties with George Mendes because of the whole Quenda thing. It's interesting. It's going to be interesting to see because George Mendes is he is the agent of many Portuguese players. I mean, he is considered the Portuguese king. So if we cut ties with George Mendes and tell him to go fuck himself, if he's Trincão's agent, I don't know how we're gonna get Trincão. I don't know how we're gonna get certain other players. You know what I mean? So I want to see where that leads to. I don't even know who he's the agent of, but yeah, I mean the Cunha thing hasn't been talked about. Again, I think we'll see when we get closer, or when the season ends, when we know what money we have and what we got to do. Because if we win the Europa League, the money thing is going to change. The story behind the money is going to change. It's going to be more positive. It's going to be more hyped up. They're going to talk about United are going to spend big for Ruben Amorim because we secured Champions League and, we won the Europa League and we got the boost. And, it's going to be a whole big thing. And if we don't, it's going to be the opposite. It's going to be United are desperately need to sell to buy, and we're priced out of this move and we're priced out of that move because we don't have the money, and we're waiting to sell Rashford, and we're trying to sell Casemiro to get these wages off the books. And until we do that, we can't get this player, we can't get that player. So, it's just we just gotta wait 2 more months and we'll know for sure. Lion says, love the low, but if we can get a good price and bring Frimpong in, that would be a no-brainer for me. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I would probably do it too as well. I kind of feel the same. But it's not that bad. So, sorry, I'm just reading. I'm just reading something. Rajat saying, if want to keep Xerxes, then there's not much point trying to get Cunha. Well, I mean, I don't think we need another number 10 anyway. I don't think getting a new number 10 means that Xerxes going. I think the 10 would just be the 10, and nobody's really going to move from that position going into next season. Now maybe the season after, if Xerxes doesn't develop the way we would like, maybe he gets sold after that. But yeah. And then Rajat saying Delit, Inacio, Euro. I think it's a very amazing back three. Yeah, I mean it's a solid one. It's a youthful one. One that has a long future in it. So yeah, and then there's Heaven as well. So Euro, Delit, Heaven. So we're pretty solid on that aspect. We have a couple more updates. They're not going to pop up on your screen because they've come on after we've gone live, but I'm going to read them to you because that's what we do. And Amad Diallo has made positive progress in his rehab. He lit up social media yesterday, putting up a post indicating that he is on his way back and that we will see him again before the season ends. So Amad Diallo has made positive progress in his rehab work in the last 2 weeks. He's been doing a lot of strength and rehab work, and United are aiming for him to be on grass within the next month. Has improved much sooner than expected. Well, that's very good and positive news. As long as we don't rush him and he is actually 100% ready to go, I'm all here for it. I'm very happy for that. I thought we weren't going to see him for the end of this season, like many people thought, and it'll be good to see him back onto the pitch. He deserves it. He was literally our player of the season up until he got injured. I think Bruno has taken over that spot recently in terms of impact on the pitch, and he's kind of held up that mantle with a bit of a transition period in between, of course. But yeah, there was something else that I wanted to bring in that I didn't see before. Um, yeah, people are taking the piss out of Jadon Sancho, commenting on his Where did they make that post? Was it on? So they put it on Instagram and they didn't put it on Twitter. Manchester United, they made a post saying happy birthday to Jadon Sancho, and people saying happy birthday to our favorite freedom fighter. Um, somebody said happy birthday Jaden Mandela, and somebody said happy birthday Jaden, please don't come back. Well, I think we're all in agreement there, so that's fine. There was something else I needed to bring in here that I lost somewhere. Is Mazawari? Yeah, Mazawari starting from Morocco versus Tanzania tonight, so that's good. Yeah, so Amad Diallo, gonna be back on grass within the next month. Touch some grass, kid. As they say. Yeah, that's very good. I'm happy for him. I'm very, very happy for him. That's good stuff. So, I'm glad. We need to see him. We miss him, and I miss Kobe Mainu as well. We need Kobe Mainu back on as well. Now our upcoming match is going to be against Nottingham Forest, of course. And I think we might have a significant amount of players returning for that match. I think there's something up to 6 to 8 players returning as a possibility, and ready to go. So that's going to be a big boost. And hopefully that they are all, ready to go. And that's positive news for us because the more we have, the better chance we have. It's going to be a tough match. Obviously, Nottingham Forest, playing out of their minds this season, up there in 3rd place, and clearly outperforming us. But let's try and win that match. Yeah, so I think that Onana thing. I think that's a serious thing. So we're gonna have to look out for that, because I think Ruben Amorim is very displeased with Onana. I don't think he's been happy, and I think he's gonna look to move him on, which is gonna be very, very interesting. Yeah. I was gonna do something. We'll save it for next. We'll save it for the next show. Um, Let me just check this real quick. Yeah. So, does anybody want to talk about anything that we didn't talk about? Anything on your mind? Anything particularly that you guys have been thinking about? While we've been away, thoughts, opinions, anything you want to share, anything like that, throw it out in the chat, and we'll talk about it. I got my Star Wars mug. A Star Wars mug. Lion says Harry Amos was England captain today. He was. I did see that. Good for him. Good for him. And hopefully, he continues the path of growth. Getting into the squad a little bit, getting some minutes on his birthday. That was a good birthday present. Harry Amos is it's real positive around him right now. He got his debut on his birthday. He's captained England for the under 18s, I suppose. Um, yeah, so if I'm Harry Almas, I'm feeling real good right now. So hopefully, not because I don't have an obsession with the kid. I just want to see what he's got. There's a couple of our youth players there that like let's see what they got. I want to see what they got. So I want to know where we stand. Is there something there? Can we maybe, it doesn't have to be ready, but if we could see something, we'd be like, all right, he needs a little bit more, but there's something there. So we don't have to worry too much about that position. Let's focus on this position. That's really my whole thing. So, um, Onana has had moments, but it's time to move him on. And Rajat saying Onana not going anywhere. While watching Amos today, I'm sorry, but he does remind me of Shaw. In what way though? Because Shaw is a good player when he's fit and available, and he's taking care of himself, then there's many different layers to Shaw. We had the part where pre detrimental injury, then we had after detrimental injury. There was that period where he certainly was not doing the diet thing correctly. That got sorted. He came back fit. And then ever since then, he just cannot stay fit, which is a shame because he had that period where Luke Shaw was on fire. He was playing so good we called him Shawberto Carlos. You don't get called Shawberto Carlos for playing average. That's how important and how good he was to us. It's just circumstances around him is all it is. It's if Luke Shaw can stay fit, Luke Shaw can stay. I'm good with Luke Shaw. So in a good way, it's the best possible way. Science. Well, that's good. That's good. Yeah, Luke Shaw, is a very very good left back. It's sad that he can't stay fit and that he can't be the consistent important player that we need and that we enjoyed watching. So, it is what it is, but um hopefully moving forward, uh maybe we have another one on our hands. So, I don't there's no other news that has come out other than the Diallo thing. So good for Diallo to be back. Um I was gonna do something. I was gonna do something interactive, but uh, I think we'll save it for next time. The interactive one. We'll do. How about this? I'll announce it so that we all know it's a thing, so that we'll be ready for the next one. Because Grace last episode or last show wanted to build the squad together. So for the next show, which will either be tomorrow or the day after. I'll let you guys know. But on the next show that we do, we will build the squad together. We'll do it interactively to be a vote, community, whatever. We'll do it in the live chat as we go. And it'll be on screen, and we'll do a live squad builder. So, yeah, we'll get that going. And I'm working on a couple other things. So we're getting the Discord sorted. I'm gonna be implementing the stickers / emojis that Lyle worked so hard on. We gotta get those in there. Those came out fantastic. I gotta get to work on that as well. So yeah, we'll pick it up. It's a little bit slow right now. So maybe we won't go live tomorrow. Maybe we will. I'm kind of dictating off of the news. We have to have things to talk about. It's not just about the news. We can, have discussions ourselves. But, sometimes one day is completely dead. Like there's nothing at all. So it kind of depends. So I'll deem tomorrow. But worst comes to worst, if it's not tomorrow, we'll do it the day after because I don't want it to be too long. And then we're creeping closer to coming back to Premier League football anyway. So the closer we get to that, the more stuff will ramp up. So but Lions asking, who has been the best manager since Fergie? Not by winning trophies, but best football. By best football. I'm gonna be honest here. I, that's tough because I'm trying to be nice, but I'm trying to be fair. Um, I'm trying to be nice, but I'm trying to be fair. I haven't really liked any of the football poster, Alex. It's not really my football. But what I will say is I think the first season under Ten Hag might have been maybe our best. Maybe. In terms of I guess aesthetic. I guess in terms of aesthetic. I feel like that first season I feel like we played very, very well. And I enjoyed the football. Um there was that period under Ali. Uh that was very good, but I feel like it didn't last so long. Um Mourinho's I didn't enjoy too much. I didn't enjoy that, and I certainly didn't enjoy LVG. Um Moyes doesn't count. But I didn't enjoy it under that either. Um Ranić is Ranić. We don't really count him. Then there's Ten Hag and there's Ruben Amorim. And Ruben Amorim obviously is still a work in progress, so you can't really count that, and it hasn't been good per se. I know what he wants to do. I know what he's trying to do, but he's still trying to sort that out, and he's in a different circumstance. I would probably say Erik Ten Hag's first season, I think, was probably our best. Um, not including trophies or something like that. So, um, Zidane saying McTominay is back. No, McTominay is in Napoli eating pizza and pasta and living his best life. Um, and good for him. But no, he is not back. Lion says doesn't always need to be about the news. Could be the best team of all time with players from different eras and shit like that. Yeah, we could do something like that. But that requires me to properly plan that out. And I am all over the place right now. So I got to put some thought and planning into that as well. That's why I usually go off of the news, because it's easier. It provides topics and stuff like that, and it's very straightforward. But yeah, we do need to do stuff like that anyway. You're right, Lions. So Ali's gold football ended when Ronaldo stole Cavani's shirt number. Well, we went on that run that we went on that led him to getting the job, and then I kind of feel like after that it was good mixed with bad. But that specific run, that when he took over from Mourinho, him getting to the job, that football was very good. I enjoyed it very much. Then when he got the job going forward, we had periods where we played that football, which was good to watch. But then we had periods mixed in that where the football was not great and we didn't look great. And then obviously his third season, it all collapsed. So Zidane saying that to sell Delo, I think this player is very worst. I mean, fair enough. We talked about this a little bit before, Zidane. We said, if the situation was you could get Frimpong for 40 million and you could sell Delo for, I don't know, 30 or something like that. I think probably most of us would do that. I would do it. I like Frimpong. I mean, I like Delo. I think Delo is not. I don't think Delo is a horrible player. And then if that deal wasn't on the table, me looking at the squad, and I'll pull it back up because you weren't here, but this list of players is the players that I would like Manchester United to deal with, more so than not. This is 10 players here. Delo is not in here, but Rashford, Casemiro, Anthony, Sancho, Eriksson, Lindelof, Malacia, Shaw, Evans, and Heaton. Those players are they're the top 10. Delo does not make it in there. There's probably ONANA being there in there as well. Um, Delo is a player that I have no problem with keeping for the foregoing season. And we address other areas of the pitch and other positions and other players for the next season, and then we evaluate again going forward, and we see what happens with that aspect. Um yes, I mean, Zidane, just fair warning, you're lucky that Grace isn't here right now, because she would not like that very much, but I think you're safe as of right now, because I don't think she's here anymore. Grace is our moderator, and she's a big Delo fan, and she would not take kind to those words, saying that Delo is very worst. But yeah. But listen, I'm gonna get out of here because I gotta go do some things. And I gotta take care of some things. So, but it was a very good chat. Again, I'll always try to check the news for you guys. So before I do that, real quick refresh, nothing at all. So yeah. Next show we'll do interactive. We'll build the squad together. I promise. We will build the squad together. You guys will make the squad. I'm just here to facilitate it. The community will do it. We'll talk about, whatever news is out that day as well. Maybe it'll be built up over 2 days. But thank you everybody that joined us. Thank you to everybody that got involved in the chat. Thank you to everybody that smashed the like button. That's very important for us and it helps us out greatly. So, and thank you to anybody that was new that subscribed. We appreciate that as well. Very good discussion. Yes, you guys are going to build it one way or another. I don't know how that's going to go. You're going to have to come to some sort of an agreement on players. But you guys are going to build it. Yeah, I feel like it's going to be a car crash as well, but it'll be an experience. I think it'll be good. It'll be fun. Yeah, you guys are going to build it. Somehow we'll figure it out. I don't know. I think it's gonna be a challenge, but it'll be interesting. It'll be fun. It'll be something a little different. We haven't done it yet either. I kind of feel like we might end up with 11 Delos on the pitch. It's a strong possibility we might end up with 11 Delos, but we'll see. I mean, 11 Delos would win the Premier League, possibly. I'm joking. No, fun times. Yeah, but all right. We'll catch you later, guys. Thank you. Zidane saying Rashford. Why should Rashford? He even performed well with Villa. I thought more of Anthony to be released by dude. Why Rashford? I'll give you a simple and quick breakdown. Marcus Rashford has not been performing at Manchester United particularly well. Marcus Rashford, according to Ruben Amorim, our manager, was not doing the things that he needed to be doing as a professional football player to even get on the bench. It seems like Marcus Rashford wants to move on from Manchester United, and regardless of his talent, Marcus Rashford being at Manchester United and not doing the proper things, and when I say not doing the proper things, not training 100%, and even on the pitch, why am I watching Marcus Rashford sprint up and down the pitch for Aston Villa or England, but I don't see him doing it for Manchester United? It is the time for the club and Marcus Rashford to part ways. It'll be good for him and it'll be good for us. And that's why Rashford has to go. We've passed the point of Marcus Rashford staying here. I don't think Rashford wants to stay, and I don't think the club necessarily is begging him to stay. So, and I think there's many fans in the fan base, a large percentage, that have moved on from him as well. So I think for all parties included, I think it's best for everybody. I think it's best for the club, and I think it's best for him and his career, his happiness, and his mentality. So, um, yeah. I mean, you don't have to agree. And Marcus Rashford could be your favorite player, and you don't want him to go. He was one of my favorite players. I still like him, but I just don't think it's a good fit with him being at Manchester United anymore. When I see him there, it just feels very sour to me. He doesn't seem necessarily happy. I don't think there's a way to necessarily fix that. I think sometimes things happen where you need a change. You need a change of environment. You need a fresh start. And I think that's certainly what it seems like for Marcus Rashford, and even for Manchester United. So, um, yeah, in my opinion, we got to move forward. He has to move forward. And we got to look to the future and stop holding on to something that isn't benefiting neither one of us per se. So, yeah. But other than that, thank you guys. And we'll catch you on the next one. And I'll let you know when that is. We'll schedule it ahead of time. If you're in Grace's Discord, then obviously you'll be notified there. But I will make a post on the community tab as well, letting you know when we go live. If it's not tomorrow, day after, for sure, 110%. Other than that, take care, guys. Thank you very much. Stay safe, be good, and we will speak very, very soon.